So everyone's been talking about Elon Musk and the BBC interviewer who got dismantled. Now, I'm going to give you a little more than what everybody else has been giving you. That gentleman's name's actually James Clayton. He has been with the BBC for a long time, and he actually interviews people in the tech space, which is why he was the one to sit down with Elon Musk. Now, in this conversation, I'm just going right to the tense part because not just because it's the salacious part, not just because this is where James gets dismantled, but this is where the state of journalism is exposed. And we're going to focus on that part. And then we're going to focus on something that's very important that Elon Musk said. And then I'm going to show you I haven't seen anybody else show this clip, but it's actually a clip in the Twitter spaces where one of the listeners actually gets to say something to James himself. So stay tuned.
We've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company.
What hate speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter,
right?
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
but just a personal anecdote. Like, what do you? I don't.
Personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
don't. You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second.
following.
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet, and yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed.
You just lied.
What I claimed was. There are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not, I mean, right, and
literally
you can look at something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK. They will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know there's hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time. COVID misinformation.
Now, you can see by the way Elon Musk, if you watch Elon Musk, he's breathing quite hard. You can see James is stuttering quite a bit, fumbling over his words, clearly lying about what he said. And I'll give you a little clarification about what they were talking about. Now, when they talk about the For You tab, that's actually a tab that shows you people that you're following and things that are similar to what you have been liking and engaging with. So if this gentleman's saying, which I think is a complete lie, but if he's saying that he all of a sudden saw more hate speech in his feed, he would have to be engaging with people that are either contributing to that type of hate speech or he is engaging in it himself. Something had to have happened for him to be seeing that. Even aside from all that, clearly making it up, clearly just saying the things that have been said in his circles time and time again. Well, Elon took over and Now the whole platform's crazy. Now there's all these racists. Now there's all these misogynists. Now there's all this. It's just a talking point that the mainstream media uses over and over and over again. And I've said it before. When they keep doing that, when they keep using the same words, the same terms over and over again, they mold reality. They mold reality for the masses. But not only that, they start to mold their own reality as well. And that was a perfect example, because as soon as he got pushback, he had no idea what to say. This is why people love people like Joe Rogan, because it's just a long conversation. And I've seen Joe Rogan. Believe me, I've watched every episode. There's a reason I got his picture back here. I've watched every episode, and when he's wrong, he just admits it. It's live. It's out there. He says, I was wrong, and he moves on. And that's something that no one in the mainstream can do at all. And this was a perfect example of it. Not only a perfect example of that, a perfect example of why mainstream media is dying. And my third point that I'll bring up is all he had to do, if he was going to bring up hate speech, all he had to do was have a list in front of him of just 5 things, even 3 things that he saw. And that would have been it, because that's what a journalist does. That's what a clear thinking person does. You have an argument, you back it up. That's it. That's all he had to do. And he could not back up that argument whatsoever. And I'm so glad Elon Musk called him out on it. Now, there's a little bit more in this exchange, and then I'm actually going to play for you the clip of the person in the spaces who actually gets to call James out. He gets to do what we all want to do.
You changed the COVID misinformation.
Has
rules.
BBC changed its COVID misinformation?
The BBC does not set the rules on Twitter, so I'm asking you.
No, I'm talking about the BBC's misinformation about COVID.
I'm literally asking you about, you changed the labels, the COVID misinformation labels. There used to be a policy, it then disappeared. Why do that?
Well, COVID is no longer an issue. Does the BBC hold itself at all responsible for misinformation regarding masking and side effects of vaccinations, and not reporting on that at all? And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change its editorial policy? Are you aware of that?
Why is Elon Musk more prepared for this interviewer than the person who asked for the interview? A little backstory on this. This gentleman sent an email to Elon Musk asking for this interview, and Elon Musk responded like an hour later and said, let's do it tonight, right now. And they put all this together. Now, I know that's a little short notice for the interviewer, but it's extremely short notice for Musk himself. Why doesn't the interviewer have as much prepared as Elon Musk does? He just rattled those things off. And just so you know, it's actually true. The government actually pressured the BBC to not use the term lockdown at the beginning of the pandemic. They actually went hard on that, as well as a bunch of other things that they wanted them to kind of, stay away from.
This is not an interview about the BBC.
Oh, you thought it wasn't?
I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces. I am not a representative of the BBC's editorial policy. I want to make that clear. Let's talk about something else. If you want to talk about the BBC,
you too.
All right, let's talk about.
I love that Elon Musk said this at the end, because this interview showed so much more about the BBC than it did about Elon Musk and Twitter. This showed where their head was at. This showed the tactics that they use. This showed how unprepared they are for such, I would say, if I got the chance to interview Elon Musk, I would say this is a monumental moment. Just unprepared. Just, I'm going to ask these questions. I'm going to get my sound bites. This guy's a far right extremist type anyway. He's in line with Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. And he thought he was just going to casually get his sound bites and just walk out of there. And it did not turn into that. A lot of people who are in the mainstream media have to realize that when you're saying things to us, it's not just a one-way thing. We're getting a window into you as well. We're getting a window into your organization. We're getting a window into how you think. So Elon Musk was right. You know, he thought it wasn't an interview about the BBC, but it really was. And this showed us so much about the BBC, and sadly, so much about James. I'm sure he's had better days, and we can't judge him just based on this one interview, but he was unprepared. And I hope the next time that he gets an opportunity like this, that he actually takes it as an opportunity to provide you and I with the truth, because that's all we need. I'm sure there's somebody telling him to get the sound bites and just stick to the talking points and that's it. But all we need is the truth. We're happy with just that. And I've linked in the description the actual Twitter Spaces, because it's actually an hour and a half long. It goes through their entire interview where they talk about so much more, and also the crowd, the people listening, which is 650,000 people that were listening to this Spaces. Some of them get to actually comment as well, and it's not just typing comments, they actually get to talk. And that's what I'm going to play for you right now, the gentleman who actually got to call out James himself. Here you go.
For sure. And second question is like, will I be able to meet the Twitter CEO there or no?
Sure.
Perfect. Can't wait. And I just have one message for James. The number of people in this Twitter space. So you should be responsible. Like, you should be a responsible reporter. You are claiming that you are seeing a lot of hate speech, but you could not even give a single example. So I just request you to be a responsible speaker. That's it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's see. David or Jason, I don't know if you guys can speak. You're welcome to if you'd like.
I just want to clear up what I said there. You said has your, I believe you said something like, has your feed got more hateful or something, and I said my For You feed has got a bit more hateful. I didn't say I was seeing tons of hate speech on it. That's not what I said.
No,
but you can frame it like that.
Well, look, it's recorded, so it's not like we don't have to like engage in guesswork here. It's recorded.
And that's it. That was the heated exchange between Elon Musk and James Clayton, as well as the viewer who got to chime in there. And he's 100% right. You need to be responsible when you're doing something like that. You need to actually take the time to prepare the same way Elon Musk did with his questions. He should have been taking the exact same time, should have prepared for pushback, should have at least prepared in case Elon Musk talks back to me. What am I going to say? Something. But to just make things up on the fly and think that it's just going to be okay, it's like Elon Musk said, the whole thing's recorded. But other than that, I'm out, guys. Oh yeah, subscribe.